One night, a group of United military personnel alarmingly operates machinery from inside a control room. They have lost control over a secret satellite called the Centaur-1, which contains a new form of biological weapon. Dr. Forsyth and Dr. Michelson, government scientists who developed the weapon, deliver the news to their higher-up, General Randolph. The two scientists report that the Centaur-1 is about to crash on Earth and that they are currently locating its exact impact point. Randolph reprimands them, emphasizing that the secret satellite is supposed to stay in outer space. The scientists try to relieve Randolph by telling him that even if the weapon survives the crash, they are able to shut it down. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, a police lieutenant from Metro City Police named Detective Ian McClemmer is on duty with his partner, Jerry Maris. The two are on patrol while trying to pursue two young burglars sneaking off a building. Ian and Jerry call out to the two burglars and are about to arrest them, but one of them fires a gun at Ian, causing a minor wound on his shoulder. Soon after, the two parties engage in a shootout, and the police officers end up killing the young burglars, who turn out to be stealing a bag of Halloween costumes. Later, Captain Robertson arrives at the scene along with a few backups, approaching Ian and Jerry. He criticizes them for their response during their operation. Jerry declares that they shot back at the young man out of self-defense. Ian continues, saying that the young men are suspects who drew their weapons first, initiating open fire. As a response, Robertson orders them to submit a written report and confiscates both of their firearms before he leaves the scene. After their shift, Jerry persuades Ian to let him borrow a gun, asking him if he has an arsenal hidden somewhere. He admits to Ian that it feels restless and unsafe without any firearms in his possession. Ian tries to relieve him, saying that he will retrieve his gun in a few days. From the control area, General Randolph and the government scientists find out about the crash. Randolph immediately orders the military to cordon off the area. He also pressures Dr. Forsyth to terminate the biological weapon before it catches the attention of the public officials. At the same time, a young teen couple is stuck in the forest trying to repair their broken car, while from a few miles away, a group of old drunk men are sleeping. Shortly after, they witness the loud crash of Centaur-1 from a distance. The couple then decides to approach the crash site, and a little later, one of the drunk men also follows. The drunk old man, known as Levinson, reaches the location first, where he finds the secret satellite that looks like an alien ship. He becomes anxious at the sight of the ship, deciding to walk away and report the crash. On the other side, the couple explores the ship as the young man named Jason fascinates himself with its material components while his partner nags at him. Jason notices a dormant, odd-looking creature nearby and lightly touches it. His partner stops him from touching the creature, but instead, Jason tries to lift it up and poke through its opening. Just then, the creature slowly activates and grabs on Jason's head, using its tentacles, killing him in an instant. It also strangles the young woman and kills her before it goes back to dormant mode. Inside the control area, Dr. Forsyth and Dr. Michelson monitor the condition of the odd-looking creature, which happens to be the biological weapon. They also detect the presence of the young couple near the creature and find out that the two have already been killed. Everyone in the control room becomes anxious after the incident, but the government scientists remind General Randolph that the creature was designed to kill. Later, Ian returns to his home and treats the minor wound on his shoulder before going back to their office. While Ian is currently napping, Captain Robertson advances toward him looking for his written report. Ian submits it in an instant and reaches the paper out to him. Robertson provokes Ian, telling him to put the report on his desk, but Ian tosses the paper away and goes back to his nap. Just then, Carla Sanborn, a newcomer in the Metro City Police, approaches Ian and invites him for coffee. Carla expresses her curiosity toward Ian, telling him that everyone in the office talks about him for his tough, gutsy, and very good reputation. Ian tells Carla to forget all about his reputation and invites her to dinner in his place as he brags about his cooking skills. In the middle of their conversation, Jerry interrupts them to tell Ian that a psychic woman has been looking for him on the phone. Ian tells Jerry to decline the call because he is not in the mood to handle such people. In turn, Jerry agrees and leaves the two of them. Right at that moment, Captain Robertson enters the room and tells Jerry to ignore the call. He announces about a reported double homicide and instead orders Ian and Jerry to inspect the scene. As Ian and Jerry leave the office, Captain Robertson warns Carla to not get too friendly with Ian because most of his close friends end up getting themselves killed. Carla responds to Robertson and tells him that she will be careful. The double homicide report leads the police officers to the forest where the young couple had been previously killed by the creature. Ian and Jerry study the area along with a few other scientists who have also arrived at the scene. The police officers discover the lightweight and durable materials used on the ship, which they suspect are highly advanced. All of them are clueless regarding the incident, confused and with no apparent leads. After a while, Dr. Rogers, a forensic scientist, leads Ian and Jerry to the then dormant creature. They presume the huge creature to be a huge organic living matter that looks like a rock. The scientist admits to them that the huge living rock could have a possible involvement in the double homicide case. However, it would be unusual for a thorough investigation to be done on the unidentified living rock. Before leaving the crime scene, the creature is taken to the police laboratory while Ian and Jerry retrieve two small pieces of the living rock to investigate on their own. Meanwhile, the control room continues to monitor the status of the deadly creature. General Randolph becomes agitated as they learn that the creature is being moved away by the public officials. Hawkins, one of Randolph's trusted men, is instructed to guard the crash site and restrict the area from the public. Dr. Michelson tells Randolph not to worry because the creature is in dormant mode and will not attack anyone for the time being. Before leaving the control room, Randolph again urges the two scientists to completely destroy the creature and their project. However, Dr. Forsyth does not listen to Randolph because it will cost the program millions of dollars. He goes to the machines and configures it, causing the creature to permanently awaken from its dormant state. He also manipulates the code of the creature and disconnects its link to the control room. Inside the police laboratory, Dr. Rogers begins to study the creature while recording his findings. He uses a scalpel to scrape the creature, but is unable to make any abrasions because of its extremely durable skin. The forensic scientist proceeds with applying hydrochloric acid to the surface of the creature. Just then, the large rock-looking creature becomes active. It grows bigger and monstrous, killing the forensic scientist as it tears his body apart using its tentacles. The next day, Ian and Jerry are summoned by Captain Robertson inside the police laboratory. They learn about the death of Dr. Rogers and the sudden disappearance of the rock creature. Ian and Jerry get to retrieve Dr. Rogers' recordings but fail to find any helpful information. Robertson instructs them to talk to the eyewitness of their case, who is later identified as Levinson, the drunk old man who escaped from the forest. Inside the detective's office, Levinson describes that he saw a UFO that looked like a giant Cadillac hubcap on fire. Thinking that he is making up stories, Ian and Jerry look at the old man in disbelief. They give Levinson back his drink and quickly ends the interrogation, sending him away. The disoriented and drunk Levinson leaves the office, slowly walking towards a dark industrial warehouse. Inside, the deadly rock creatures linger from the shadows and senses Levinson. While Levinson looks around the warehouse, its tentacle grabs both of his wrists. Levinson grunts and tries to break free, but another tentacle strangles his neck and mercilessly kills him. Later, Ian and Jerry drive back to the crash site to reinvestigate the double homicide incident, but Hawkins, along with other military personnel, have already restricted the area. Hawkins threatens to shoot the two detectives, and in turn, they criticize the military as they suspect that the US government is covering something up. Nonetheless, Ian and Jerry are forced to leave the area, and Hawkins reports them to General Randolph. As Randolph is keen on keeping the creature a secret, he firmly orders Hawkins to do whatever it takes to keep the police and everyone away from the crash site. On their way back to the city, Jerry again complains to Ian about not having his gun around as Ian pokes fun at him. They briefly come out of their vehicle to check on an abandoned car that they saw on the road. The details of the abandoned car led them to the residence of Mrs. Ridley, Jason's mother. Unaware of Jason's death, Mrs. Ridley requests the two detectives to reach out to Jason and tell them to come home. After their conversation, Ian theorizes with Jerry in the car, telling him that there is something big going on. While Ian wants to continue with the investigation, Jerry warns him that they need to stop because they have been constantly defying the orders of Captain Robertson. Inside the police station, Ian persistently asks one of the officers to track the car details to see if it matches with the bodies of the killed teenagers. Right after, Robertson calls Ian and Jerry over to his office to declare that the incident in the crash site has been ruled as an accident. The two are officially off the homicide case, but Ian complains to Robertson. Ian criticizes him for choosing to do nothing about the big case, knowing about the death of their colleague, Dr. Rogers. In turn, Robertson suspends Ian from his duties and forces him out of the office. Meanwhile, General Robertson angrily returns to the control room and scolds Dr. Forsyth. He blames the government scientist for not shutting off the creature, leading to more reported deaths around the city of Los Angeles. Dr. Forsyth rebuts at Robertson, claiming that he has entered the destruct code, but it might have not worked. Dr. Michelson suggests locating the creature and holding it until they can successfully work on the deconstruct code. Back in Ian's home, he prepares 2 huge slices of steak and bakes it in the oven for his dinner with Carla. In the middle of preparing, he receives a call from Elaine Wentworth, the psychic woman who has been reaching out to him. Elaine claims that she knows what has been happening around the city through her superconscious mind. She tells Ian that she is aware of the forces that conflict in the cosmic norm, such as the creature that has crashed on Earth. Elaine convinces Ian to let her help him in order to prevent the creature from inflicting more deaths. Before they end the call, Elaine teases Ian and tells him that his steaks are burning. Later, Ian and Carla end up having burgers and fries for their dinner. Ian entertains her by playing Scottish music dressed like a Scottish man, as Carla reacts invitingly at him as she removes her top. Shortly after, the two make out and have sex in Ian's bedroom. After a while, Carla looks around his bedroom and notices the living rock that Ian retrieved earlier. She claims that it looked like a huge roach egg, and soon Ian drives out with Carla in the middle of the night to bring the living rock to a bug control laboratory. They meet with his friend Professor Whately in order to determine the nature of the small living rock. Professor Whately tries to crack it open using a hammer, but it won't budge. He takes his drill and pokes it open as it lets off a little hot air. Just then, a small crab-looking alien pops out of the living rock, which turns out to be the deadly creature's egg. It instantly attacks Professor Whately, biting off his throat aggressively. Ian takes the crab-looking alien away from Professor Whately and accidentally throws it towards Carla. Carla screams in panic at the sudden attack as Ian hurries to take the alien from Carla. He puts the small alien inside a customized aquarium and contains it with a specific type of gas. Carla calls an ambulance for Professor Whately while Ian assists him. The ambulance arrives shortly after, about to take Professor Whately. Ian briefly asks him about the lethal gas used to contain the small alien, and Professor Whately points him toward the jars in his laboratory. At the same time, Jerry, who has possession of the creature's other egg, is baking in his kitchen. He observes a faint crackling sound coming out of the huge egg. Unaware of the egg's true nature, Jerry casually knocks on it. He continues to study the egg, but nothing happens, causing him to put it back on its spot. Just then, the small alien hatches from the egg, killing Jerry in an instant. Ian and Carla quickly head to Jerry's home as soon as he recalls that Jerry kept an egg. Ian riskily drives on the road, catching the attention of a police vehicle on patrol. Nonetheless, they arrive in Jerry's home, where they find him dead on his couch. Carla leaves the scene in shock and pants loudly while Ian stares at his partner Jerry. She comes back shortly after to accompany Ian, but is unable to move further from the entrance. Ian notices a subtle movement from Jerry's abdomen, causing him to take a knife and stab Jerry's abdomen area. Suddenly, the second small alien emerges from Jerry's inside and attacks Ian. The small alien scratches him, but he manages to break free as it runs towards Jerry's backyard. Carla rushes towards Ian in panic before helping him with his injury. Ian then quietly chases down the alien outside and finds that it is inside a neighboring house. He enters the house of Jerry's neighbor and borrows a bat as he searches around. The small alien attacks Jerry's neighbor, but Ian manages to hit it with the bat and it gets thrown out of the house through a window. Ian checks the small alien after it falls on the ground and watches as it slowly dies. As soon as Ian returns to Jerry's house, he receives a phone call from Elaine. Elaine apologizes for Jerry's death and claims that she tried to warn him, but he didn't listen. She again offers to help Ian, and he finally approves. Elaine explains that he must seek out and destroy the parent creature. She gives him the creature's location, which is in a dark warehouse near an alley. When he asks her how he can kill it, she tells him that killing the creature is no longer her business. After the call, Ian and Carla stop by his arsenal to gather some firearms. Ian brings out his guns, giving one to Carla as they hurriedly leave the place. Right before they could ride his car, Hawkins arrives and aims a gun towards Ian. He threatens Ian to tell him the creature's exact location. Carla confusingly interrupts the two of them, but Hawkins dismisses her. Annoyed, she aims her gun towards Hawkins while Ian aims another gun at him. The two of them manage to hold Hawkins under control as Ian takes Hawkins' gun. They lead Hawkins back to his car and force him to get inside the trunk before leaving him. Meanwhile, Jerry's body is taken to the police laboratory along with the dead small alien. Robertson briefly visits Jerry and looks at the small alien. He later instructs a police officer to track down Ian's location and send a car over to his house. At around the same time, an alarm rings out inside the dark warehouse. The guard on duty inspects the warehouse, where he then finds the large parent creature. He uses a gun to shoot the creature, but it does nothing. In response, the creature uses its tentacles to grab the guard, squeezing him to his death. Ian and Carla arrive at the warehouse not long after. He instructs Carla to stay inside and call for police backup while he enters the warehouse to fight off the parent creature on his own. In the middle of calling, she notices the jar of lethal gas given by Professor Whately inside the car. She takes out the jar and follows Ian to the warehouse with the jar on hand. Inside the dark warehouse, Ian quietly roams around as he looks for the creature. On his way, he finds the decapitated head of the guard earlier lying on the floor. Ian stares at the head and steps backward when suddenly he bumps against the parent creature that appears behind him. Immediately, a fight ensues between Ian and the parent creature. While Ian aims a shotgun toward the creature, it tosses the gun away from him. The creature growls and strangles Ian with its arms, making him scream. He gets thrown on the ground, where he manages to retrieve his shotgun. Ian fires continuous shots at the parent creature, but the bullets do not penetrate its body. As the creature roars loud, it wraps its tentacles tight around Ian's head and pulls him closer. Ian resists from being pulled, using his dagger to slice off the tentacles on his face. The parent creature disengages and momentarily retreats as Carla appears behind him. Ian urges Carla to stay out of the warehouse, but she insists on accompanying him. At that time, the police backup led by Robertson also arrives at the warehouse. They enter the area and look around for the parent creature. Hansen, one of the police officers, catches sight of the creature and continuously fires his gun. However, he fails to get away from its tentacles, leading to his death. Ian and Carla find Hansen's dead body, making them scream in surprise. Just then, the deadly creature growls at them and its tentacles wrap around Ian's ankles. The creature aggressively attacks Ian and pulls him forward. Carla throws the jar filled with lethal gas toward Ian, and he shoves the whole jar in the creature's mouth. While the parent creature roars at the effect of the gas, Carla spots a chainsaw and grabs it. She starts up the chainsaw but suddenly trips on a metal pipe, causing the chainsaw to advance towards Ian. Ian manages to grab the chainsaw, stabbing the parent creature while it still struggles on the lethal gas. He actively drills on its insides until the creature stops moving. Ian slowly gets up to check on the creature, but it suddenly moves and tosses him on the side. Carla approaches the creature and is about to shoot when Robertson appears and pulls her away. He uses a machine gun and an axe to continuously attack the creature, but to no avail. Ian rejoins them soon after, and the three of them attack the parent creature simultaneously. After much struggle, Ian retrieves the chainsaw to slice off the creature's head and successfully kills it. Ian and Carla hug in celebration of their victory, while Robertson stores the creature's head inside a drum. Throughout the end, more police forces arrive at the scene while Ian and Carla leave the warehouse with the chainsaw.